Welcome to Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock Drogheda. My name is Nick Park, and this is a series of messages we are doing on Jesus in every book of the Old Testament. Not just every book, but every page of every book. And we're in 2 Samuel at the moment, and yesterday we were talking about how the Israelites wanted to appoint a king. And of course the first king, Saul, didn't end well. But then the next king was King David. And David, of course, in so many ways prefigures and foreshadows the coming of Jesus Christ. In fact, Jesus, when he came, he was happy to be known as the son of David, not the son of Abraham, not the son of Moses. You never see Jesus called that. You never see him called the son of Adam. He's called the son of David. Now, there are a number of parallels between David and Jesus, though we can see that God ordered things in David's life to show us that there would be coming this later king, a greater king. But some of the stuff that we know to be true about Jesus, we see foreshadowed in the life of David. So, for example, David was not as impressive looking as his brothers. Remember, whenever Jesse, his father, whenever Samuel went to the house to anoint the new king of Israel, that all these other brothers looked really impressive, and Samuel looked at them, surely this must be the one. But then it's the little shepherd boy that comes at the end. Well, just as David was not as impressive looking as his brothers, the same is true of Jesus. Because in Isaiah 53 verse 2 it says, there was no beauty or majesty to make us be attracted to him. So Jesus was not incredibly, you see these pictures of Jesus where he's the most handsome man that ever lived. Jesus most likely was not like that. He did not stand out physically from his brethren. David was a shepherd, and of course Jesus is the ultimate good shepherd. And just as David fought against the lion and the bear to protect the sheep, our good shepherd will fight on our behalf. David defeated a giant. He took on Goliath and overcame Goliath. And in the same way, Jesus confronted the giant of all when he defeated death and hell. David was a worshipper, and Jesus was a worshipper. He always did everything to glorify his Father. David suffered isolation and rejection, and you see that in many of the Psalms, where because Saul was persecuting him and his enemies were coming against him, you see David again and again talking about his sufferings and his enemies that were against him. And many of those Psalms later came to be applied to Jesus as the Messiah and were recognized as messianic Psalms, because Jesus, like David, suffered isolation and rejection. David, of course, was anointed as king. Jesus was anointed as king before he went to the cross. David was anointed by a prophet, Samuel. Jesus was anointed by a woman who knelt at his feet to anoint him with oil. But they were both anointed as king. The amazing thing is this as well. Jesus is not only the son of David, but he is the Lord of David as well. The New Testament uses both terms for David. In Romans chapter 1, Jesus is described as being a descendant of David. But in Revelation chapter 22, Jesus is described as being the root and the offspring of David. Now, the root from which David sprang forth was Jesus Christ, the second person of the Trinity. So he's the root of David, but also because he was born in the flesh of descendants of David, he is the offspring of David. So certainly in the portrayal of David that we see in 2 Samuel and also in some of the other historical books, we see David there as a forerunner of Jesus Christ. God did not just spring Jesus on the world without warning. He prepared the way carefully with an ongoing revelation that includes the life of David. God bless you today. Join us again tomorrow for another Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock Drogheda.